This is Wrestling is Fiction. We are officially on episode 14 now. I'm Zach Hannigan, as always, with my partner, Darkstar Shady. We have a small recap, SummerSlam preview coming up for you, and you get a double feature, 2 Raws and 2 Smackdowns here in the Wrestling is Fiction universe. Let's get into it.
What's up, everyone? Before we get into today's episode, it's time to go through a few of our sponsors. First off, you can head to darkstarshady.com/wrestlingisfiction to find links to everywhere that you can listen to us. From there, you can head to our sponsors page where you'll find a few different links. First off, you'll find the official sponsor of Wrestling is Fiction, Gengar's TCG shop on TikTok. He sells Pokemon cards through his TikTok shop, and he also does live rip and ships where you can have him open cards live on a stream for his audience and mail you your pulls afterwards. I've also partnered with a company called W. They make gaming energy drinks. If you go to w.gg and use code DARKSTAR10, you'll get 10% off your next order. I recommend the Galaxy Grenade flavor, which is watermelon, guava, and lime. I bought a few of their shaker bottles and multiple tubs of their energy drink powders, and I take a drink to work with me almost every day, and it gives me the jitterless energy I need to get through each day. Let's get to today's episode. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry we missed last week. We were planning on recording our episode late on Friday and just putting it out then. And I'm not sure if it was part of all the tech outages that were happening or what, but we tried to record, got about 18 minutes in, and my internet was cutting out and freezing. My video was choppy, and then the system just dropped completely. I even tried calling Zach on the phone, and our phone call was cutting out, so weird week.
Yeah, I think Utah was hit the worst, I guess, because nothing was working for you.
Yeah, no, I asked my wife how things were. She works at Target, and she said their display TVs weren't even working at their job, which is a strange thing to go out.
Yeah.
And then decided to go to the bakery and probably should have stayed home that day. You can't see it, but Zach can see me holding up both of my arms, which are splinted and wrapped in bandages, and had a little bit of an accident and broke both my elbows.
Rough last Friday, that's for
sure.
Yeah,
it was not the best time, so at least you guys get 2 episodes of each of our shows today now to make up for it. I've got last week's notes on my phone here, and I wrote out voice to texted some new notes last night. You want to start us off with a little bit of a recap of the last couple weeks, I guess?
Yeah, I think we're just going to hit major points here. And I think it's pertinent to start with our WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, who gets the same storyline treatment every week on SmackDown now, building up to SummerSlam. He starts to win. The numbers game takes over. He gets put through an announcing table, or Randy Orton gets put through an announcing table, or Kevin Owens, one of the trio, and then Cody Rhodes is left laying somewhere half dead in the ring with Solo Sikoa standing over him.
Yeah, it's getting really repetitive. There's absolutely no surprise to this story at all. The only surprise that there will be is if somehow Solo wins the WWE Championship, in which case I think we already decided that we'd be no longer tuning in to WWE Smackdown if that happens.
You didn't hear this last week, but it was on the failed recording.
Oh, that's right, it was.
I told Steven, I'm not watching WWE anymore. If Solo wins, I will quit WWE.
That's right, it was during the failed recording, which I'll have to see if I can splice that 18 minutes in somewhere in a future week as a little bonus episode or something. If Solo wins, that's going to be the most ridiculous storyline. I don't see him being able to carry a story as the champion, even temporarily. He's not believable to hold a belt.
It's that, and I don't know. I'm excited for it if we're gearing up for a Roman Reigns return. I know there's rumors he's going to be at SummerSlam. I personally don't think so. I it really hasn't been that long since WrestleMania, and people are acting like it's been
Yeah.
years that he's been gone.
Yeah, and I think a big thing is that just it's not a good storyline at all, really.
It's the
And
same. They continue to give the Bloodline the same story.
yeah, and then not even just that, but Nick Aldis as a character who was so firm with the previous bloodline has taken this completely hands-off approach with the new bloodline where he lets them do whatever they want. He never interferes. He never sends anyone out to really stop things other than the 1 week where security was holding back Cody, Randy, and Kevin.
Kicked
Um,
out of the building.
like where is his like strict personality and like punishment towards the new bloodline that is interfering in just about everything now?
And I text you this. Nick Aldis saying to Cody Rhodes on last week's SmackDown, I can't have the WWE champion in a handicap match. That'll look bad on me. But I can have him continue to get assaulted at the end of the show every week. It just doesn't make sense. And yeah, they're not making all this look like a very good GM.
Yeah, and then there was the thing that we talked about right before we started recording, which is they made a big deal about Cody having to find a partner, and he needs to see who's going to go against A Town Down Under of all people with him, and it turned out to just be Kevin Owens. Like they made it seem like either Kevin wasn't there or Kevin didn't want to be involved, and he had to like actually search for someone new to fight with him. But no, he just at the end of the show just walks up, "Hey Kevin, you ready to fight?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do this." Which unrelated, but why is A Town Down Under still together?
I'm not sure. They were really pushing the narrative that Austin Theory was wising up to Grayson Waller, kind of pushing him into the fray. And they lost the championship, so you're like, oh, that's probably the end of that. And they're still together. I'm not sure. I guess they're wanting to draw that story out a little more, or they're not ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I. It's just SmackDown overall has been kind of weak. Aside from like the women's championship storyline, like there just hasn't been a lot of substance to the show. The people that are there are just being recycled through the same 2-3 segments. Um, and anyone who is still there is living in fear of Jacob Fatu now.
Well, SmackDown's top stars, when you think about them, Cody Rhodes, obviously. You throw Randy Orton in that category, Kevin Owens. They all keep losing because of the bloodline. So your
Yeah,
top talent is never on top, and their whole show is you're waiting to see what the bloodline's going to do. They're not necessarily fleshing out any other rivalries per se. It's like one big story of the bloodline, and that's kind of it.
yeah. I this would take us back a ways, but I think that the way they should have built up this bloodline is obviously Roman goes out. Jimmy getting hurt was kind of a surprise, probably, but having both of them removed and it's just Solo, have him get mad at Cody Rhodes and have him seek revenge and not be able to do it and just trickle the new members in as a really angry, hurt Solo Sokoa, like trying to get revenge but not having the strength, so he keeps calling in new member after new member and have a couple weeks where Cody could have been on top and beating Solo and then suddenly a new member comes in and Cody has to recruit Kevin. Kevin brings Randy in, and just if they had built it up with smaller steps, with the bloodline being built up, I think it would have been better than just having them with their full numbers from the start and just having this weird dominant storyline.
Speaking of Cody Rhodes getting more people to fight the bloodline, I found this interesting on Raw this Monday, the main event, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn tagging again. Um, I'm wondering if that's going to lead into a OG bloodline Survivor Series match. uh, War Games match with this new set of Bloodline members?
Yeah, I've been wondering that for a bit. I could see that happening definitely. Um, I do like Sammy and Jay as a tag team more than I like the Usos. Honestly, they just have a enough of different styles to make the matches a little more fun and interesting.
Well, Sami Zayn, he's a great solo competitor, but he is an entertaining tag team wrestler. Um, the amount of times he got the Bloodline to break character when he was a part of them, and still, I mean, I don't know how Kevin Owens tagged with him for so long and didn't break character. But
Yeah, no, like Sammy's hilarious, and I also think it would be just really funny if Jay and Sammy win the tag titles together somehow, and
yeah,
that's just another number where Jay is now at 2 titles above Jimmy, and that brings a little more friction to a reunited bloodline. And he's like, "Will you stop winning without me, please?"
we need Jay to win a solo title.
Yeah, I'm so afraid they're never gonna give him one.
Him or LA Knight, who might win at SummerSlam, so I don't want to
Yeah,
say that yet.
I feel like going up into this season, everyone thought that SummerSlam was when LA Knight would win the title, and now a lot of people online are starting to kind of be like, it's not quite a sure thing anymore. I'm not sure if he's gonna take it or not.
Well, that's the whole point of telling a good story.
Yeah,
Speaking of factions, we talked about how we're not too happy with the Bloodline stories, but the Judgment Day, and I know Raw does the same thing, kind of runs the show through them, but I just feel like their faction is so much more entertaining right now.
yeah. Especially since they've added Carlito as just the backup comedy relief, which
Yeah.
is he always has the most ridiculous one-liners, and I just think it was funny even in this past Raw where they were all making their entrance to the arena and Carlito's just at the very back, kind of like not quite with the Judgment Day, but he's just standing there struggling with his luggage and getting mad at it.
I live for Carlito's wise ass comment and Damian Priest stare at him every week.
Yeah, yeah, and just the last couple of weeks, Damian Priest has just been having a lot more fun. It seems like he's letting his character laugh at people. He's letting himself like feel like the champion now. And it started with that Gunther promo last week.
He has definitely improved on his ability to do that and getting comfortable with being champion. And I think Gunther's helping with that, man. Like the promo they hit against each other 2 weeks ago was so personal. Uh, and then I love this week. Damian just punches him in the face right away.
Yeah.
Um, Pat
I'm
McAfee loved it.
I'm not sure how it aired on actual Raw because I watched the like condensed Hulu version yesterday. But it had them fighting in the ring, and then it just went black for a second, and it immediately cut to them backstage fighting more.
Yeah, they went to commercial.
Okay, I wasn't sure
He
if there
thought
was
it
like
was
another segment in between those or not, but
They fought up the stage, and then he thought it was over. Got broken up,
yeah,
and trying to get an interview back there, and Gunther just standing there gets attacked by Damien.
and
It's going to be such a good match. I'm really looking forward to that
I
one.
know Gunther is very obviously the heel in this situation, but hearing the crowd actually chant like Gunther sucks, like
Oh, he is doing such a good job at being a heel right now.
yeah,
It's
and
really hated.
it's a similar situation here where I think heading into it, everyone assumed Gunther was going to take the title, and people seem a
Yeah.
little less sure now, and people are starting to actually rally behind Damian Priest in this moment.
Yeah, they're doing a good job with that, sort of turning Damien more face. And I think the Judgment Day as a whole has done this turn to face almost. Like it's not really a hated member right now. I think the last time was when Finn Balor was going at it with Seth Rollins, and there was a reason to hate Finn Balor because every week he did something dirty. But now they're kind of like I don't know, not to use a. They're kind of like Loki. They're like a trickster group where
Yeah,
they're not that scary, but they tend to win a lot.
yeah. Like they're obviously like somewhat playing the part of a heel, being like, "We're gonna go attack Jay. We're gonna take him out." But at the same time, their main members, Damian Priest, has to play the babyface. Rhea and Dom are almost the babyface against this like sadistic Liv Morgan.
Nobody can hate Rhea Ripley as much as we try.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Speaking of them looking for Jay and attacking him backstage, I thought WWE really fucked up on this. They're interviewing Sammy backstage, and behind him are Los Angeles Kings and Anaheim Ducks graphics on the wall, but they were in Green Bay, right? And so this was very clearly pre-recorded when they were in Anaheim a couple weeks ago. And I couldn't have been the only one to notice it. I'm just surprised WWE didn't look at that or edit it out, just make the wall white, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that because even when they do like the double tapings of episodes, they try to be so generic about where they are and like they don't mention any specific locations or give anything away like that. Um, and that same like backstage we're looking for Jay segment. How suspicious is it that Finn gave up Dominic's partnership for just a moment, long enough for Liv to appear? He was like, "Hey, let's split up," and that's the exact moment Liv showed up.
Well, Liv is a sadistic being, always watching, it seems.
Is she
Or
always watching, or did Finn like plan this with her, and he was like, "I'm gonna send Dominic right over to her"?
or Finn has his hand in something. And then poor Dom, scumbag, making Liv cry in front of everybody.
God, I can't believe that. Poor Liv. Poor Liv Morgan was just devastated.
But he
Just
did get his face licked by Rhea Ripley, so,
yeah, good for him.
still won.
Good for him. I want to know what ridiculous thing Rhea was saying in his ear to make them both just like practically start laughing. Like I know it was supposed to be something in character, but
Probably,
she
I'm
was
gonna
saying
lick you in the face.
like she was saying just the most off the wall thing just to make him
Yeah.
laugh too. Like I'm so glad Rhea Ripley's back though.
Good to have Dom and Rhea back.
Yeah, I don't know how long they're gonna last. They obviously are making it seem like he's completely on her side, but I just
Well,
don't know how
I
long
think
that'll
it's
stay
gonna
together.
be a classic. He's gonna try to help mommy, but ends up helping Liv, who's gonna retain, and thus the breakup of Rhea Ripley and Dom Mysterio again. I like the Jey Uso angle they're perhaps taking there too.
Yeah, just the no one touches Jey Uso. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Did he?
Dominic just like, hey, I saw what you posted online to Jay. I what?
Just like a hurt puppy.
Yeah, no.
Please don't yell at me.
Just wait till she has a little J on her cheek. And she's like, no, it's for Judgment Day. And Dom's like, no, it's not. It's for him, isn't it?
I don't know. Are there any other big deals we're missing? I guess we
Um,
should mention Braun Breaker trying to become a heel, I think. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if he's a heel or face, but because his character is just wreck shop and leave. And, anytime him and Ilya Dragunov go at it, it's just a phenomenal match. And they put on another great match. And unfortunately, the spear that he hit Ilya with, I saw it live and I was thinking to myself, I think he did hit his head on that apron, and Cole pointed it out. Unfortunately, I think it did have to end early because of a real injury. I haven't done any further research on this, though.
I searched for Ilya on Twitter afterwards, and I couldn't really find anyone saying for sure if he was actually hurt or not. Just a lot of people that were like, God, I would hate to referee a match with him because half the time I would legitimately think he's hurt because of how good he is at selling. And
Well,
I wouldn't.
yeah, it's hard because he can make these faces, but the face that he was making when he hit the ground felt not like acting to me.
Yeah, and if it was acting, the referee did a great job of like making it seem so serious that she had to get more people out there, and then
Well,
had to
yeah,
yell
and the
over to Samantha to
referee
call the winner.
referee telling him he's literally knocked out.
Yeah.
And he might have went dark for a few seconds there.
Yeah.
But
He was
I hope
definitely
he's
at
not
least.
injured.
Yeah, he at least had his eyes open by the time they called people out to him. But yeah, it looked bad. I watched it and I kept an eye on that part after you told it to me, and you could definitely see his head bounce off the apron.
And that the worst part of it too. That's the metal part.
Yeah, especially
Of
now
the
that they
ring.
have those like LED screens along the
Mhm.
bottom too. Like that just makes it all the worse.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope he's not injured. He's one of my favorite wrestlers to watch in ring right now, and I was really curious to see who they were going to let win that match. I was, sure it would have been Braun, but
Did
Ilya had a chance there. I wish it could have kept going, or if
did
that was
Ilya
part of
get
it.
a full entrance on Raw?
Yes,
Okay, because on the condensed one, it came back from a quick little break to just Braun Breaker's music hitting, and Ilya was already in the ring.
he got an intro, then they went to commercial. So I wouldn't say full intro, but
Okay, yeah, they didn't give him an intro at all on the condensed one, which is interesting how they do it. I think they cut. I think Sonya Deville and wow, blanking on names. Zoe and Shayna had a match on Raw. Yeah, they cut that
they
completely
had
from the
they
condensed
had
match.
two matches.
Yeah, they cut both of those completely from the condensed one,
Yeah.
which is a shame because I think Sonya Deville is really cool.
Speaking of them, and I know we said we weren't going to go into a bunch of recap. Why is Lyra Valkyria story for her right now to partner with Kaden and Chance, or Katana and Chance? Um, Not that I don't like them as a tag team, but I think Lyra was much better off doing a solo thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That it's a weird storyline completely.
And now Zelina's in it. And you know how we talked about a few episodes ago how small Zelina Vega is?
Yeah.
Well, what's her name? Is it Katana Chance? I get them both mixed up. But anyway, the smaller of the two, she was smaller than Zelina. I was like, she is a
Yeah,
tiny person.
she's very very small, but I think a lot of her like in-ring ability kind of makes you forget about it a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah, I have no problem. I think she's a fantastic wrestler. I just didn't think there was anyone smaller than Zelina Vega on the roster, and I
Yeah,
was clearly wrong.
which okay, again, I was on Twitter and Zelina Vega made a post about how she's overlooked because she's so small. And then someone replied to her and they were like, get a new excuse. Look at how short Alexa Bliss is. Look at how short this person is. Look how short Liv Morgan is. They're all the
Yeah.
same size as you. Get over yourself. Which,
It's hard in a division right now that has Rhea Ripley in it.
yeah,
Just she
yeah,
is such a powerhouse that it's hard for it to be believable for wrestlers like that right
yeah.
now.
It's definitely a great women's division though, because even if they can't get to the top, there's just so many really strong competitors. Which is
And
why I think they need a mid card title.
I'm not sure if Charlotte Flair is coming back to Raw or SmackDown, but she's going to be in the picture the minute she gets back. And I
Well,
know there's speculation about Becky Lynch and stuff. If she ever does come back, she's going to be in the title picture. So they
yeah.
do need a mid card.
Well, what show is Andrade on now? Is he on SmackDown?
Yes, because he went up against Carmelo Hayes.
So yeah, that's where Charlotte will be then, right?
That
Most
makes
likely.
sense.
Um, and then the last part of recap before we go on to our shows, I think we just have to mention that Tiffany Stratton had her match, and Bailey came out looking phenomenal and just absolutely destroyed her briefcase to cost her the match.
That was so funny. It's like didn't really do anything to Tiffany Stratton, but I think it's funny Bailey playing mind games again, strictly to just piss her off. Broke
Yeah,
the
and
briefcase.
it just made Bailey look a little bit better than she has in a while, just to kind of come
Yes.
out and actually show some anger, show some anything really. And she took out Nia Jax out there, who, despite her being the queen of the ring with Tiffany, with the briefcase, the two of them are still having this little friendship going, which I think is fantastic, honestly.
Well, obviously, well, not obviously. I mean, there's always a chance that Tiffy goes after Liv Morgan, but something's going to happen at SummerSlam. Either it gets cashed in on, or Nia wins and Tiffy eventually cashes in on her. But yeah, I think that's a partnership built for the sole purpose of getting the title away from Bayley.
Yeah. It's a great friendship, though. I think it's really entertaining to see the two of them together. We're very obviously going to get a very nice new, very pink briefcase on SmackDown.
Oh yeah.
But imagine the world where Nia Jax takes Bayley's title and Tiffany cashes in on Liv, and the two of them have their friendship and they both have the titles.
Well, if Tiffy cashes in on Liv, she has to move to Raw, right? Isn't that how it goes?
You would think so. But I don't think they'll let her have a Barbie pink strap on her belt for some reason.
No. And I know we said last part of recap, and it was almost, but I think as a wrestling show, we should mention Bobby Lashley no longer with WWE.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different reports, one that he's gone and one that he's not gone but is not planning on renewing. Which I guess can make sense since he doesn't really have a title picture to be in right now. But at the same time, what else is there out there for him that he needs to do?
I mean, they haven't been booking him like the dominant champion he used to be, so I understand. And it seems that he does keep getting injured, so it could really just be a health thing. He wants to take a back seat for a while. It didn't sound like WWE released him, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds less like they're releasing him and more like they didn't have a good enough offer, so he doesn't want to stay. Which I really hope he doesn't go AEW. But there are some reports saying that they think that him and MVP want to go to AEW to renew their faction, but it's not like he's going to be able to go for a top title there with the people they have in the picture over there.
Here's AEW recycle WWE stories. Is that what they're down to now?
Yeah, I think so. Which, I know this isn't an AEW show, but did you watch any of the Will Ospreay MJF match?
I watched highlights.
Okay, yeah, I saw like a highlight video, and I may have to look up that match and just watch the whole hour.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Like, I know I'm not like a big AEW fan. I don't really care about most of their storylines, but those two guys in particular can wrestle.
Yeah, I like those two guys.
And MJF is deceptively like flippy. Like some of those highlights where he was just doing flips and jumping around, I was like, I feel like he shouldn't be able to do that.
He just doesn't look like the type of wrestler that would do that. But
no, but he was pulling off some incredible moves, and was it Will Ospreay who hit a Styles Clash? And people online were just super mad, being like, how dare he? And AJ Styles was like, that's a compliment. Like, let him hit my moves if he wants to show something for me.
But Triple H isn't going to let people hit the pedigree.
Right.
To get stunners anymore.
Right. Like,
I mean, how many finishers are there? And I mean, Karrion Kross's finisher is pretty much a recycled F5.
Yeah, which, more recap, but what a weird segment that was between after the match. Like, everything about Alpha Academy right now is such a weird place.
I like the Creed Bros being with Chad Gable, though. I knew we'd see it
finally.
eventually.
I really enjoyed last week when Chad Gable was like knocking on the locker room door, and he's like, I figured it out, guys. Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas. And they were like, yeah, we know. He's like, no, I figured it out. And they're like, Chad, we know.
Yeah, I told a bunch of people. That's where you must have heard it.
Just like they were just like, Chad, are you an idiot?
Yeah. I
Um,
I like the Creed brothers being a little bit heel now.
yeah, no, like it definitely like seems like a better fit for them, and I liked Otis just standing off against Chad and actually standing up to him now, and Chad being like, "Are you guys really gonna stand with him?" And Akira Tozawa is just like, yep. And Maxine just wraps her arms around Otis's.
I'm so happy we have the New Day and Tozawa segments backstage back.
Yeah, just Otis just grabbing a fistful of cake. I do enjoy Pat McAfee's confusion where he was like, "Who do we call Alpha Academy now?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Is Otis Alpha Academy?" And then Chad Gable's music hits, and his
Yeah.
graphics are still all Alpha Academy graphics.
I guess it sounded like Chad's keeping the name.
Yeah, so we'll see if Otis and Tozawa get their own new name.
You know who also needs a name is the Sonya Deville faction.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they take that one.
I mean that's a scary trio if they're booked correctly.
Yeah, it really is. And then just as a little off topic, but when I was riding to the bakery before my injury, I did stop at a card shop and I picked up a autographed Sonya Deville card. They had like a random box of like assorted cards, and there was a handful of WWE ones, and I couldn't pass on that one.
So if you didn't stop to get these cards, the injury that happened to you would have never happened
You know,
based on timeline.
I'm blaming the tech outages because if we had been recording, I would have been at my computer another probably hour and a half, 2 hours before I
Yeah.
had gone out. So this is directly Microsoft's fault. So Bill Gates, please pay up for my injuries and emotional damages and just existence, please, Bill. If
Well,
you're
I think
listening.
now is a good as time as any to transition into our shows.
Yeah, and I'm assuming we'll go SmackDown Raw, SmackDown Raw.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Okay. So this is what I originally had planned for last week. Um, so opening up SmackDown, I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, Nick Aldis had come out with a little bit of anger towards the women's division and said he was bringing someone else out. So we're opening up the show with Nick Aldis coming down to the ring, and he's talking about how he's kind of lost control of the women's division. He's kind of a little sick of it, and he needs some help. And he brings out Stephanie McMahon. Her music hits, and she comes down to the ring. The problem is she looks at him, and he's like, "You know what, Nick? You brought me here for a little bit more authority, but I kind of like how these women are acting. I kind of like how crazed they are, but you're right. The one thing we do need is a number one contender for Liv Morgan, who is watching backstage." And she's like, "I've already talked to Liv, and you know what? I approve of the way she's holding herself as champion. So tonight, we're going to set up a fatal four-way for a number one contender for Liv Morgan. I'm not quite going to give you everything you wanted, Nick, but I do agree we do need someone to have that match for my champion, Liv Morgan." And then it cuts to break.
Always great to see Steph.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to figure out where exactly to bring her in since I picked her as one of my legends. And I don't know, I've always been a big Stephanie McMahon fan. And this does lead into a tag team match. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Unholy Union. And it's a pretty quick match. Unholy Union comes out and they think they have a pretty good shot at winning this. It's a non-title match. They're just kind of testing the waters. And it doesn't go very well for them simply because partway through the match, Indy Hartwell goes out and gets a kendo stick and just starts beating both of them down in the ring with Candice looking on clapping. And it was non-title, but the two of them just wanted to prove a point that no one should even try to test the waters against them. And ends with Candice and Indy holding up their belts as Unholy Union kind of roll out of the ring. But then Johnny Gargano comes out, and he gets in the ring with his microphone, and he looks at Candice, and he's like, is this really how you want to win your matches? Is this really how you want to be champions, like playing dirty like this? Like, we did it the right way. DIY came out, we took the shot that we had after AOP took out the Street Profits. Yeah, Tommaso Ciampa may be a little bit of a dirty fighter here and there, but we're doing things the right way. We're defending, we're actually having matches most of the time. You guys do the dirtiest things, and is this really how you want your legacy to stand? And that's when Tommaso Ciampa comes out with Dexter Lumis next to him, and he's like, hey, Johnny, you should probably come to the back. We need to talk. Before you go any further with the two of them, you need to hear me out right now. And it cuts to break. And then it comes back to a singles match that's been waiting a few weeks now, which is Gunther versus Giovanni Vinci. Giovanni Vinci has been kicked out of Imperium for a while, but he still kind of has some friction here and there. And Gunther is sick of it, and he just comes out and absolutely dominates him. He's tossing him around the ring, hitting big boots. He's throwing him into corners, chopping him. Giovanni Vinci's as red as can be. And Gunther wins with his Boston Crab submission in the middle of the ring. And he just looks down at Giovanni Vinci and kind of spits on him a little before he walks away. And just cuts to break with him standing over him. So that's the first few matches of SmackDown, if you have any reactions to it yet.
Giovanni Vinci's hitting a real rough patch.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure where I'm taking his story completely, but I think his time with Imperium and them interfering with each other is finally hit an end point. And then we go to a backstage moment with Damage Control all just arguing with each other. They've hit their own rough patches, and Dakota Kai keeps trying to hold them together. And that's when they get attacked by Alba and Isla. They're angry from their match ending the way it did, and they're just backstage just kind of wreaking havoc. And that's when Alba gets in the camera, and she's like, I'm sick of the disrespect here. We're going to take out everyone else in our way, and we're going to fight back for those tag titles. No one else is going to stand between us and the gold.
Being truly unholy.
Yeah, like they've kind of been on the back burner a lot of the show up till now, and they're kind of getting sick of it. And then we continue backstage where Rey Mysterio is talking to Andrade, and he's like, I know our match last week kind of went off the rails, but I think I'm done with Carlito. I think my story with him has hit its conclusion. Doesn't matter what's going on anymore, but he's not the problem anymore. He's kind of faced his punishment. He's just riding Dijak's coattails at this point. But I think we need to wash our hands of him. And Andrade's like, looks at him and he's like, that's fair, but Dijak and I are going to have a little bit more we need to settle here. And then it goes to a tag team match of the Wolf Dogs versus Carmelo and Ricochet again. And, we've had this match multiple times. It's gone different ways each time, but this time the Wolf Dogs really just dominate. Carmelo and Ricochet are hitting springboards and trying to do clotheslines, but Braun Breaker is literally catching them out of the air and just body slamming them. Like, he doesn't want to deal with this. In his eyes, they're standing between him and another championship match for the tag titles. He thinks that him and Baron Corbin deserve it, and Baron's pretty fired up as well. He's looking a little more serious than he does most weeks when he gets tagged in. He's pretty dominant. He's not letting Carmelo tag Ricochet in at all. And he knocks Ricochet off the apron at one point, and Braun Breaker just runs around the ring and spears him outside of the ring, which takes him out long enough for Baron Corbin to get the win over Carmelo Hayes. And the two of them just stand there dominant in the ring.
I think everyone can share the sentiment with me that we all miss the Wolf Dogs.
Yeah.
But I really like the partnership of Ricochet and Carmelo.
Yeah, same. I think it's really fun. I think it's something they could have done with Ricochet with any any tag team really, just to keep him in WWE. And then that leads us into the Fatal 4-Way match, and it ends up being between Io Sky, Blair Davenport, Thea Hale, and Natalia. And it's as chaotic as you can imagine. They're all just brawling in the ring. At one point, Io Sky drops down and goes out to get a chair. And she goes to hit Blair Davenport in the back with it when, out of nowhere, Thea Hale just hits a drop kick right into the chair and knocks Io back out of the ring. Which Blair Davenport turns around, sees Thea Hale there, and just takes her out. And the match ends when she goes for the pinfall, and Natalia breaks it up and puts Blair in a sharpshooter and taps her out. And Natalia is your presumed number one contender for Liv Morgan's title.
Good for her. I was wondering where you were going to take that match. I had no idea who was going to win.
Honestly, I didn't for a while either, because I even had these notes written last week for the show, obviously, and I didn't have a winner decided until last night before we were doing this double episode. I was going to just wing it last week. And then we've got our main event, which is Randy Orton versus JD McDonough. Just a little run-up match to Randy's SummerSlam match against...
Excuse you, JD McDonough. As
sorry.
Cole and Pat
so sorry.
Call him.
Just a little run-up match to his SummerSlam match against Finn Balor, the World Heavyweight Champion. And Randy Orton kind of plays it slow. He lets JD kind of set the pace for the match. And JD's actually pretty athletic, so he takes Randy Orton by surprise a little bit and kind of puts it to him. He's hitting him, chopping him, putting him back in the corner, and Randy kind of has to go a little more defensive than he thought he would. It isn't until JD goes to hit a springboard moonsault, which, why is he able to do that Randy pops up and hits an RKO and just slams him on his very large head. That Randy gets the 3 count there, and Finn Balor is on the sideline holding his belt, but he doesn't quite want to get in the ring with Randy. He lets JD kind of just lay there, pulls him out of the apron when he does, and Randy just stands there. He's handed his crown. He's holding his crown in the ring, just staring down Finn as they cut to black.
Classic Viper, man. RKO's out of nowhere. It's such a good finisher.
Yeah, it's one of the best finishers, obviously, in the WWE. I don't know. Do you have any top finishers that are your favorites other than that?
I know it probably doesn't hurt, but I really like Seth Rollins' stomp.
Yeah.
Just stomp somebody's face into the ring as your finisher.
Yeah. Which his stomp did lead to one of the best RKOs of all time.
Yeah. Still, if not the best.
Yeah. That one, and I think there was a shooting star RKO that he hit on someone.
Yeah, that was who was that? Was that Ricochet?
No, I don't think it was Ricochet.
Or AJ?
I can't remember who that one was on.
Anyway.
But no. RKO, Walls of Jericho was one of my favorite finishers.
Walls of Jericho was great.
Which I've used on my cousin many a time when I was younger.
Yeah, it hurts too.
The F5 is one that I love.
F5's a great one. I was always a huge fan of the Tombstone. Understand why they don't do it anymore. But
yeah, no. I liked his other finisher, the Last Ride Powerbomb. And then just the choke slam.
I feel like that's 6 people's finisher. So
yeah, it is. But whenever I think choke slam, I think Undertaker and Kane.
Same.
But those are probably my favorite finishers of all time.
Oh, I forgot one. 619, man.
Oh yeah. Which that's another one that now it's 3 different people are using it. Ray, Dominic, and Zelina.
The left-handed one is always weird for me to see from Dom.
Yeah. Oh no.
All right, back to our programming and Monday Night Raw. This would have been the
Holy shit, I
Raw that
think.
aired on July 22nd. So Raw has a new faction in it, obviously,
Oh,
the
I did.
IFC,
Fuck that hurt.
and they were attacked by the family last week. So naturally, we got a 3-man tag match, the IFC, which is Sheamus, KO, and Ilya against the family. And this match starts out like a standard tag match. They're kind of back and forth, feeling each other out, seeing who gains momentum. Um, and then the IFC really starts to kind of take the momentum. They're tagging in and out. They're really beating down Luca Crucifino. And this is when Adriana Rizzo decides to get involved. So she decides to distract the ref. And the family has Sheamus in the corner, and they're kind of just beating him down. The guys on the apron are holding him. One guy in the ring is just throwing punches and kicks. And Stacks even hits a low blow on Sheamus. So they kind of got their pound of flesh there. And then Stacks tags Tony. He hits his finisher, and they get the 3 count KO, or Ilya, kind of distracted by Adriana, and the ref didn't see the cover in time and weren't able to break it up. So family not only beat him down backstage, they beat him in the ring.
I like the way you're building up the family and your new faction, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
you've got some great storylines going right now.
I'm a huge fan of the IFC. I wish they would do it in real WWE.
Yeah.
And then we go to commercial, come back. LA Knight's music drops. He does his little intro, his LA Knight thing. And last week he was attacked by Jacob Fatu backstage. And you can tell he's a little mad. And he said, if any of those clowns in that new fake bloodline want to take my title, they know where to find me. You don't got to attack me from behind. I'll give you a match. And you kind of hear the crowd start murmuring, and Jacob Fatu comes out of the stands and attacks him from behind. Rest of the bloodline kind of files out, starts beating him down. But oddly enough, AJ Styles and Sami Zayn come out to help him. They've kind of been in the Intercontinental Championship picture, so question of whether this is really because they care about LA Knight or if they just want to keep their names in the pictures. But they come and help him, kind of get things under control, and it ends with the bloodline thrown out of the ring, kind of staring down LA, AJ, and Sammy. And we cut to commercial. Come backstage with Awesome Truth. They're being interviewed about how the tag division's been kind of crazy. And before they get a word in, Pretty Deadly attacks him with a chair. He gets both Truth and Miz. And doesn't stop there. Creed Brothers were kind of planning on doing the same thing. So they come in and they start going at Pretty Deadly. And now we have 2 tag teams down. New Catch Republic, New Day. They want their pound of flesh and their title shot. So they're coming in. And now it's kind of just a 5-team brawl back there. Chairs flying, cases going everywhere. Takes like all security and Adam Pearce to come break it up. He does his classic "That Is Enough" and screams at him and says, "All you're out of control. I want you to all stay in your locker rooms the rest of the night. If you lay a finger on each other, your team is suspended indefinitely." And this leads to a Lyra Valkyria and Becky tag team match. They're going against Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax. Lyra obviously apologized to Becky last week for not helping her when she was attacked. Said she let the pressure of the briefcase get to her. This match is exactly like a Becky Lynch match. She comes out, she's just throwing fists and fighting. And she's taunting Nia after she takes out Tiffany, and Nia Jax, not one to be taunted. She comes in the ring illegally and runs at Becky, but Becky kind of sidesteps out of the way and pushes Nia, and she runs straight into Tiffany Stratton and takes her out. Nia kind of holding her hands to her face like, oh my God, I messed up. Becky takes advantage of this, kicks her in the back of the knee, and she kind of rolls out the ring. Becky runs over and tags Lyra, who hits a frog splash and gets the cover for the win.
No, you've got a great show so far. We've talked less about our own storylines the last few weeks
Yeah.
to each other, so this really is just a lot of surprises and a lot of like really just watching a show for us now, I think.
Yeah. All right. We come back, kind of a singles match for some guys who haven't been in action. Shinsuke Nakamura against Chad Gable. And this is a close match. Shinsuke's kind of long limbs and awkward, like strong style that he does is kind of getting to Gable, who's more of your traditional wrestler. Shinsuke's kind of running him around the ring, not really letting Chad get a hold of him for any submissions. But Shinsuke comes off the ropes and he's going for his knee. Gable ducks it. And when Shinsuke bounces back, he clotheslines him, kind of sets him up in position for his finisher. He finally gets a hold of Shinsuke and hits his Chaos Theory to win the match. Which, by the way, talking about finishers, that's a sweet name for one.
Yeah, no, I like that name a lot. And I'm not really surprised by the way that match went either. The same as an actual WWE, I don't know what Shinsuke should be doing.
I don't know either. Just being a menace, I think, was best for him.
Yeah.
All right. So then we get a women's national championship match between Zoe Stark and Piper Niven. Stark beat Chelsea Green last week, so Niven kind of wants to get that title for her teammate. And Piper has a great showing. It's about a 20-25 minute match. They're out there for a while, but Piper, you can see, is kind of getting tired, not able to put Zoe away. Zoe's very strong. It's kind of been, Piper's not used to facing someone that strong and able to pick her up and toss her around. But as Chelsea Green does, she tries to distract the ref a couple of times, but actually ends up hurting Piper this time because it gave Zoe enough time to set up and lift Piper on her shoulders, takes her a lot of her strength, but she hits that Z360 to win and retain her title.
Nice. That's a really good matchup. I feel like pairing Piper with someone stronger like that is something they don't really do too often.
No.
But would lead to some really good matches. So I like that match a lot.
I mean, it could. All right, and this kind of leads to our last thing on Raw, and Seth Rollins' music drops, the crowd's singing, they're all in a happy mood, and Seth isn't really. He's kind of pissed off about his match with Drew McIntyre being interrupted by Bobby Lashley last week, and he calls out Bobby and Drew McIntyre and says, if I have to go through you and beat both of you for another chance at that title, then I will. So why don't you guys come on down here and we can start the fight right now. Bobby Lashley does come out, but he kind of sneaks out from behind Seth and he hits a spear on him. And then Drew McIntyre's music drops and he comes running down, a big angry Scotsman. And he gets to Bobby and he's beating him down with momentum. He's setting up for his kick. And that's when the Street Profits get involved. Right before Drew is about to hit it, they kind of take him out. They're stomping and kicking him. And they actually put him through the announcer's table. Seth kind of recovering. Back in the ring, gets up. Bobby hits him with another spear and stands over him along with the Street Profits. And that's when we fade to black. They're kind of looking like they're going to be a problem.
Nice. We didn't even talk about on our recap the Drew Punk Seth moment we had.
No. Sounds like they're finally fighting. That's all I care about.
Yeah, no, Punk says he's cleared and they're going to have a match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And they just need Seth on the card so he gets to be the special guest referee.
Seth's evil laugh when he walked down the stage to Drew was so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, here we go. So that'll lead into what should be this week's SmackDown now.
Correct.
Which is the 26th.
Sounds right.
Okay. So we start off with Natalya coming out to the ring. So she won the Fatal 4-Way. And she gets out to the ring and she calls out Liv Morgan and she's like, hey, I'm your new challenger. Let me know when we're going to have this match. And that's when Stephanie McMahon's music hits. And she comes out to the ramp. She starts coming down and she's got her mic in her hand. And she says, you know what? You did win that match. But I think this women's division's having a little too much fun. And it looks too fun to be a part of. So I think you should face me for the number one contender spot. I think I'm ready to put my boots back on and get in the ring with you.
Whoa.
She's like, I talked to Liv Morgan, and she's okay with this. And I think I'm going to get in the ring with you next week, and the winner gets a shot at Liv Morgan.
What a twist.
Yeah, she didn't want to sit out on the sidelines. Nick Aldis just wanted her as a little bit of authority, and she decided that she'd rather be a part of the fun. And Natalya just looks at her, and she's like, I beat 3 other women. What's one more?
You're giving her the Santos Escobar treatment.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it comes out back from break, and Alba and Isla are in the ring, and they're like, we took out Damage Control last week. We want our shot at the tag titles. Everyone else has been having a run at them. Give us a fair fight. We almost had our win last week if they hadn't brought out the weapons and disqualified themselves. And that's when, once again, Stephanie McMahon comes out. But she comes out with Asuka and Kairi Sane, and she's like, wait a minute. You guys jumped Damage Control, so they're going to get their shot at you first, and whoever wins this will get their tag title match. And Asuka and Kairi Sane get in the ring, and they start the match right then and there. And it's really back and forth for a bit there, up until Kairi Sane gets up on the top turnbuckle to hit her insane elbow, and Alba jumps up onto the apron and knocks her down. Isla's able to roll out of the way, and she just takes a really quick roll-up pinfall and gets a 3 count, so Alba and Isla become the number 1 contenders for the women's tag titles.
Good for them.
Yeah, they beat up Damage Control backstage, and they managed to capitalize on one missed moment to get their match.
Difference between a champion and not a champion.
Yeah. And then we go backstage, and Randy Orton is backstage with his crown walking around, and he runs into Dominic Mysterio. And Dominic actually looks at Randy, and he's just looks at him, and he says, you know what? Good luck. Good luck at SummerSlam against Finn Balor, because I've got my briefcase here, and I've got my mommy next to me, and I'm ready to cash in on whoever the champion is. It doesn't really matter who it is. And Randy just kind of laughs a little bit, and Rhea just gives him a wink and like hits him in the arm a little bit as they turn around and walk away.
Is Dom calling it his shot?
He might be. And the camera backstage turns, and it shows Andrade, and it does the little follow him down the ramp. And he comes out, and he calls out Dijak, and he's like, you know what? Ray may have said he's done with Carlito last week, but you and I still have a problem. I don't know what your issue is with everyone on the roster, but you seem to have taken a particular interest in me. So I want you to come out here and we're going to fight. And Dijak was actually out in the crowd, and he runs up from behind the announce table and hops the barrier and attacks Andrade from behind. And the two of them were just brawling in the ring until the officials break them up. You see a bunch of security run out and pull them apart. And you can hear Andrade yell, "Yeah, we might be getting pulled apart right now, but next week you and I are signing a contract, and we're going to have an actual fight."
Why is Dijak so angry?
He just is. He knows that somewhere in another universe, he was kicked out of WWE, and he wants to make it count here. And we're very promo heavy, so the Wolf Dogs are out there in the ring saying that they want their shot at the titles next week since they beat Carmelo and Ricochet. And backstage, it cuts to backstage, and Tommaso Ciampa's back there with Dexter Lumis, and the two of them look at each other, and they're like, "Next week we'll go to Nick Aldis, we'll make it official." And Dexter just nods, and Johnny Gargano walks up afterwards, and he's like, "Why are you agreeing to this without even talking to me? I'm one of the tag team champions." And he's got his belt around his waist. And Ciampa just says, "We'll talk later. You'll see what's going on." Which this then leads into a singles match. And it's Jey Uso versus Ludwig Kaiser with Logan Paul on commentary. And these two have had some issues back and forth, and Logan's given Jay the title shot at SummerSlam, which he's calling the main event. He wants main event Jey Uso in the main event of SummerSlam. Logan's a little delusional, I think. But he's on commentary, and Ludwig just doesn't like that Jay is just given this title shot when he's trying to keep him from getting anything. And Logan's just on commentary, trash-talking Ludwig because he's there. He's really trash-talking Jay because he's like, "You know what? I said it last week. He's no Roman Reigns, so I'll beat him very, very easily. He's no competition for me." And Jay is actually just dominating Ludwig in the ring. And he ends up hitting his Uso splash to get a 3 count. And Logan Paul actually gets into the ring as Jay is celebrating. And Jay goes to hit a super kick on Logan, and Logan ducks under it, runs at the ropes, and then just comes back with his one lucky punch and just knocks Jay out in the ring. And he just stands over Jay, and he's handed his U.S. title, and he's just holding it up over Jay's body. And backstage, Grayson Waller is there, and he's talking to Kathy Kelly, and he's like, "Hey, did you guys hear that next week is the Grayson Waller effect, and Logan and Jay are signing their SummerSlam contract on my show?" And Austin Theory just comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "No, get in the ring with me right now. I'm so sick of you. I'm so sick of the fact that you turned on me so quick for Logan Paul. Let's go out there right now." And the two of them, just Austin Theory just runs out to the ring. His music barely has time to even hit. He's in the ring just bouncing around before Grayson Waller's music hits, and he comes out showboating, dancing down to the ring like he does. And the bell rings, and Austin Theory immediately just goes to take him down, and Grayson Waller sidesteps him, and the two of them are just fighting, but Grayson has the advantage the entire time. At one point, Grayson Waller has Austin Theory down on the mat, and he gets out of the ring, and he's just kind of like stalking his prey, watching him, waiting for the exact moment when Austin Theory starts to get up, and he runs in, hits his rolling stunner, and gets the 3 count over Austin Theory, and he continues to just showboat. And it cuts to backstage, and you can see Logan Paul just clapping for Grayson Waller, and he says to the camera, "Can't wait to be on the Grayson Waller effect again next week."
I can't believe he let our boy Austin Theory lose.
Yeah, he got angry. He called his match a little too quickly, and he just hasn't had great luck.
No, he has not.
And this comes to what will be our main event moment. And DIY comes out to the ring together. They're not in fighting gear. They've got their leather jackets on, pairs of jeans, and Johnny Gargano has his title, Tommaso Ciampa has his, and Dexter Lumis is just creepily following behind them. And Tommaso Ciampa starts off, and he's just like, "You were calling out your wife and Indy Hartwell last week for the way they've been winning their matches, but did you know that the only reason that we are tag champs right now is because it was actually Dexter Lumis who took out the Street Profits back at Backlash. And he was like, it was never AOP, it was never the Final Testament. Dexter Lumis has been behind the scenes the entire time orchestrating this for us. And Gargano's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't get it. Dexter Lumis hasn't been seen until a few weeks ago. You're the one who's been really going a little too aggressive in some of these matches. There's no reason for you to be pulling out weapons or fighting dirty. And Ciampa says, you know what? There is a reason, and that reason is I want these titles to stay around my waist. I want to be a champion, even if you don't have what it takes to be one. And Gargano's like, what are you talking about? Obviously, I want to be a champion. I'm out here fighting every week. And Tommaso Ciampa's like, you see, you're not out here fighting every week, though, because you were perfectly okay to let Dexter Lumis fight for you a couple weeks ago. And you know what? Dexter Lumis is loyal to me because Dexter goes where the gold is. And Johnny Gargano's like, what are you talking about? Are you telling me that you're paying Dexter Lumis? And he's like, no, that's not the gold I'm talking about. And Dexter just walks across the ring and pulls the belt off of Johnny Gargano and puts it around his own waist. And Ciampa says, I don't think we actually need you anymore because you've proven that you don't want to be in this as much as we do. And that's when Dexter Lumis attacks Johnny Gargano. And he just starts beating him down in the ring. And Tommaso Ciampa's just watching, and he looks around, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to help. And he starts kicking Johnny Gargano as well. And the show ends as security comes out to pull them off of him, and Johnny Gargano is just laying on the ground in pain. And Dexter and Ciampa have the tag titles.
All Johnny ever tried to do was be nice.
Yeah. And this is one of those storylines that I've had planned from the very beginning, and it was never Final Testament. They were unfairly punished. They were kicked off of SmackDown. And we'll see where that takes us next week.
Indeed, we will. So, this is the Raw on the 29th, which is the final one before SummerSlam. So, kind of a lot going on. Starts out with a 3-man tag match. Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and LA Knight are going to take on the Bloodline. They kind of had a weird moment last week when they saved LA Knight from a beating. And this is actually a quick match. AJ starts, and he just runs across the ring and jumps and hits him with this like flying phenomenal forearm. But he doesn't stop there. He keeps running towards the corners, and he takes out Solo and Jacob Fatu, who are on the apron. So like immediately he took out the tag partners and Tama Tonga. He goes and tags LA Knight, and LA Knight right away hits his elbow drop, his version of the people's elbow, I guess. And he's smart. He tags in Sammy. Sammy gets on the top rope, hits a splash on Tama Tonga, and they actually pin him. Match is over in a couple minutes. AJ really kind of just took out any help Tama Tonga was going to get beginning of the match.
Wow. I don't know if I saw that coming that quickly like that.
Yeah. But as we know, Bloodline will be back.
Yeah, they won't ever stay down.
And this is going to lead to an Awesome Truth promo. They come out, they're doing their rap. Miz gets on the mic, and he's like, this division has been nuts lately, but none of these tag teams have ever asked us for a match or even challenged us. We get attacked from behind, and, they're too busy beating each other up and aren't smart enough to just ask for a tag match. And this is when, again, they're attacked from behind by Pretty Deadly, who are kind of stomping them out. Awesome Truth recovers, though. They're able to fight back, and you kind of just have this stalemate of a brawl in the ring until referees are able to break it up. This leads into kind of a big match. It's sort of carrying over from the end of last week, Seth Rollins asked Pierce to take on Bobby Lashley, who attacked him from behind last week, speared him twice, and stood over him. And so this is a back and forth match for a good while. Seth's kind of high flying ability and speed are counteracting Bobby's power, but Seth is struggling when Bobby does get a hold of him. He's able to kind of pick him up pretty easily and toss him. And Bobby kind of does something unusual for him. He starts targeting Seth's right ankle. Every time he gets him on the ground, kind of stomps the ankle. He even put him in an ankle lock at one point. And Seth really doesn't have the speed advantage to kind of navigate the ring anymore. So Seth tries to go to the top rope, kind of real slow, gingerly, because his ankle hurts. And Bobby kind of just climbs up there and superplexes him off the top rope, waits for him to get up, and hits his finishing spear and gets the win over Seth Rollins. It hurt to have Seth lose.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a little out of character for you.
Story purposes, man. I'm a company man. And this cuts to real quickly to a camera backstage. It's a cameraman running, and you hear fighting, and you come up on it, and it's New Catch Republic and the Creed Bros just fighting each other backstage, throwing each other into the wall, into those containers. Someone actually gets thrown into the metal garage door. And again, security has to break up the tag division. And this is when you hear Adam Pearce come out on the mic, and they cut back to the ring, and he's standing up there on the stage, and he says, "You know what? I've had enough of this." He said, "If the tag division wants chaos, they're gonna get it. At SummerSlam, we have a 5-pack ladder match. But since you guys can't seem to get along and stop attacking each other, you know what? I'm going to throw in a special rule for this match. First 2 men to grab a belt become partners and champions. So, since you guys don't like each other, you better learn to like each other, because some of you might be partners at the end of some."
This is going to be a exciting match and interesting to see who wins those titles.
This leads to some tag team action. Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler are teaming back up, and Chelsea and Piper want their revenge. They both lost to Zoe Stark recently, but it doesn't start out so great for them. Zoe and Shayna kind of dominate, and Chelsea started the match, and they won't really let her get a tag. They're keeping her in the ring. They're keeping themselves fresh, tagging in and out. There's a moment that Chelsea's able to kind of swing around and kick the back of Zoe's head and crawl over and tag Piper Nivens, and she comes in with a bunch of momentum, knocks them both down. She's going back and forth. She hits her big splash in the corner on Shayna next to Chelsea, and she tries to tag Chelsea in, and Chelsea's shaking her head. She's all beat up, and she's like, no, I don't want to go back in. And Piper kind of just stares at her and grabs her and flips her over the ropes. But Chelsea lands right on lands right on Shayna, and the ref is like, starts counting, and Chelsea gets the 3 count by just being thrown on top of Shayna Baszler, and Piper and Chelsea win the match.
Good.
And
they deserve the win.
Chelsea does her shock face and excited that she won, and immediately starts taunting Zoe and Shayna. All right, so this leads us into another women's match. We got Lyra Valkyria versus Nia Jax, kind of continuing this rivalry that has been brewing. And Becky corners Lyra, and Tiffany comes out and corners Nia, and the match starts out back and forth. And the real action, though, starts out of the ring when Tiffy kind of walks over and taunts Becky, and Becky just goes after her, and they're brawling outside the ring and into the stands, and they kind of just disappear. And the ref is looking out, distracted, like, what is going on? And Nia Jax rakes Lyra's eyes and then hits this Samoan drop on her and drags her into the corner. Hits her Annihilator and gets the win. Cuts to backstage to R-Truth. He goes, a ladder match at SummerSlam? I can't wait to watch that. And Miz gives him that look like, Truth, we're in it. And Truth is like, oh, for real? And he's like, yes, that's why we need to go talk to Pierce. It's not fair that we're in this match. Sorry, toddler troubles. And they do go talk to Pierce, and Pierce says, Miz asks Pierce, what did we do? And Pierce says, unfortunately, you're part of the tag division and you're champion, so you represent the tag division and you haven't been able to control them or at least stop these attacks. So unfortunately, you're victims of the chaos. We'll see you at SummerSlam. And Pierce just kind of walks off. And Miz gives him that classic Miz look, like, what is happening? And this leads to our main event. Cody Rhodes comes out holding this title, and he's going to face CM Punk in the main event. It's a non-title match, kind of a tune-up for both wrestlers, and it's a long 25-minute match. It's back and forth. Both guys are putting on a good show. They actually get "This is awesome" chants from the crowd. And Cody kind of starts building on momentum from the crowd. And he sets up and he's able to hit his disaster kick on CM Punk. And then he hits a crossroads. Doesn't go for the cover, though. He hits a second crossroads on CM Punk, finally covers him, and he gets the 3 count for the win. And now Raw is on their way to SummerSlam next week.
Honestly, what a great way to end your last Raw before SummerSlam. And just of your last few segments, I especially love just how you write awesome truth. R-Truth is comedy gold just as he is in real life. And his confusion about whether he's watching or in the match is just perfect, on brand. And I guess that takes us out of our episode. And next week we have our bigger episode, which will be our version of SummerSlam before it airs. We'll probably do some predictions. We'll do actual full recaps again next week and bring you some great matches on both shows. So, as usual, please like, subscribe, follow, comment. Looks like Spotify switched from having just a little question and answer section to full comments now. So please leave us comments, leave us 5-star ratings, share us with your friends. And as usual, follow us wherever you can. I'm over on all the major social media platforms at Darkstar Shady. I don't know how much I'll actually be posting on any of them since I've not got full use of my arms for the moment, but I'll try to at least be interactive with people who do follow or reshare a couple things here and there on Twitter as I can. Just follow at Darkstar Shady on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you would like. You'll see different things on different platforms. I'll try and show off my Sonya Deville signed card when I have a chance, and if you find me, chances are you'll find Zach interacting with me on those platforms as well. So thanks for another great week, and we'll talk to you all later.